All right, guys, we're going to start the penultimate panel. This one is about building serverless dApps on Polkadot. And the speaker, Vasilis, is not only a product owner, he's also the lead on the Bounty Manager project. So I'm sure he will show us what it is all about. And Vasilis, this floor is yours.
Thank you. OK, so I will make a presentation about the technical architecture, how we decided to build a Bounty Manager, but first a little bit of context and background. We were a treasury-funded project, and you can go look at the referendum. It was referendum 911. You can have a look at it on Subsquare or any other of the platforms. And we also just launched with a beta version on the 6th of November last week. You can visit the link you can see here. So if you are a curator to any bounties, you will be able to log in with your account and play with it. So I will start with a little bit of introduction about bounties on the OpenGov of Polkadot. They were introduced as a way of budgeting the treasury, essentially, in broad categories in comparison to the potential for one-off treasury proposals otherwise. And this way, the idea was to make funding of smaller projects that would belong under one of these categories much more flexible and easier for teams that implement them. And curators are assigned to the bounties as subject matter experts of the category, and then they are responsible for distributing the funds of the bounty by creating so-called child bounties and awarding them to the beneficiaries for having implemented work. The issues currently faced by the bounties is mostly that there is a high technical knowledge expectation from the curators. They need to be able to construct sometimes very complicated extrinsics, and then they need to use the Polkadot JS UI for this, or potentially Multics, but it's a very complicated user experience. Definitely not friendly for people who are not developers. And then another issue is that the bounty operators of the curators have different communication methods. So people who want to apply for funds to a bounty need to scout the internet, sometimes Telegram groups, sometimes Twitter posts, in order to find how to actually communicate with the curators. And the solution we thought about implementing was to to design a very user-friendly app and remove the technical barrier of entry for the curators. And also have a space for potential beneficiaries to explore and find a communication method to the curators themselves. The technical requirements we set ourselves for the project was to design a very lightweight, strictly front-end application. And for this reason, we decided to work with Svelte to avoid also a lot of the overhead React brings. We wanted to use the blockchain as a backend. So we fetch and display data directly from the blockchain. We don't even have an indexer. And we came up also with an idea to use the remarks that the Polkadot blockchain provides to save the curator's communication channel and then be able to display it to the potential beneficiaries later on. We also wanted to build something with mobile and desktop design from the start. So especially for exploring bounties, it will be a lot easier to do it also on the phone. And as soon as functionality from the wallets comes to mobile apps, the curators will also be able to use the app directly from their phones as well. As we wanted to apply for treasury funds, we wanted to have the project be completely open source, so any other team can take the code and either deploy it on their own platform or also make improvements. And we wanted to set ourselves a very quick turnaround. We wanted to develop it within 3 months. And with these technical requirements, it allows us to have a very simple login, only with a wallet, so there is no sign-up required or registration. You simply log in with your address. And we have integrated with common wallets in the Polkadot ecosystem currently. So Nova, the Talisman, the Polkadot JS extension. And because most of the curators' accounts are multi-sigs or even actually proxy accounts, we connect with Multics, which is the most common, popular way to control proxies at the moment with Wallet Connect. So we used a third-party connection essentially, and not trying to reinvent the wheel and find a way to create proxy calls for ourselves. We just used the tools that were available. And then, because all of the information and the descriptions about bounties and other OpenGov proposals and treasury proposals exist off-chain, the Sub0 team have kindly given us access to the API, and we source the descriptions for the bounties just to be able to display them also to the user. And the other thing we source from their API is the multi-sig signatories, which is not something that we are able to take from the blockchain at the moment. Then for the user experience requirements, we gathered information for various members of the community, some curators, and mostly a big thank you to Otar from Just. He was a very big help in the beginning, helping us with focus areas and pain points usually faced by curators to gather our requirements. And then what we came up with is we wanted to display user-specific information, so the logged-in user will see only information that is relevant to them and not anything else about other bounties. We wanted to have one-click buttons with input fields only as necessary, again, to abstract a lot of the blockchain complexity from the user. We wanted to clarify the workflow of how bounties and child bounties worked by introducing logic to the button, so that a button would only appear if an action is possible to execute. And then we also wanted to make a color-coded and sectioned UI to make the user experience even more intuitive. Now I will show you a recorded demo of the currently live beta. To make my life a little bit simpler, it's not live, it's recorded. And for simplicity's sake, I am also using a single signatory account, so not a proxy like most curators are, but the functionality is essentially the same. So you will see here I will log in with Alice. And as soon as I log in, the UI will update where the bounties Alice is connected to. So we see here that Alice is actually curator to this demo bounty number 62. We can see some information about the bounty itself. And then if we scroll down, if this was a real bounty, you would also be able to see the description sourced from Sub0. This is obviously not real. Scrolling down, we can see the child bounty is currently active under this bounty, color-coded per status to identify them a little bit easier. So for example, here, demo bounty, child bounty demo 4 is in status sub-curator proposed. And the sub-curator that has been proposed in this case is Alice. So we see the button to accept the sub-curator role and move the child bounty to active status, which will be a very simple toggle and sign the transaction. And then we also see the option to close down the child bounty because it's the parent curator. This also has a little bit of a warning text and a safety toggle to avoid closing child bounties by mistake. But again, it's a very simple pop-up and sign the transaction. The child bounty demo 3, we can see it's in status payout pending, which means it has already been awarded to the beneficiary's address shown here. So the action we can do for this child bounty is to claim it and release the funds for the beneficiary. Claiming child bounty is a permissionless action, so anybody can execute it. Then the funds will be released to the address. And then we can see the child bounties demo 2 and 1 are both in active status, but because on demo 1, the sub-curator is a different account, we don't see the award button. We only see the close down button because that is an action for the parent curator, who Alice is. And I think now I'm showing, awarding the child bounty is as simple as adding the beneficiary's address and signing the transaction. And now I will show something that is probably the biggest pain point for curators, which is batching a call to execute all actions at the same time. So I will add a new child bounty here. I'm creating, I think, child bounty demo 5 with value 50. As soon as the transaction is signed and executed, we will see it also appear in the active child bounties list. here we can see that the method is adding a child bounty. Yeah, we see now the UI has updated to include child demo 5. And we see this batch all operations, which we will then need to simply input a sub-curator fee and a beneficiary's address, and it will execute all 4 actions at the same time. I think I'm putting here sub-curator fee 0. And for the beneficiary address, I'm using 30, I think, just to demonstrate it. We can see here that all 4 methods are being executed, so proposing and accepting curator for the connected account, awarding the bounty, and claiming the child bounty. As soon as the transaction is finished, we will see that demo 5 will vanish from the active child bounties, and the funds have been released to Ferdy's account. Another feature we have is filtering the child bounties, just to make it a little bit easier to sort through them. We have a button for the extend bounty functionality. As bounties need an extension after 90 days, they have an expiration date, which is also visible in the information. And extending is, again, a very simple transaction. Here, the new expiration date is the same as before because it's on the simulation, it's the same day. And then the last thing we can see is that there is a new bounty creation functionality that all users can have. It will be as simple as creating the bounty and then also creating the 2 referenda for approval and curator proposal for it. And then the last thing we will see is I will log out with Alice. And then log in with Charlie, I think. Right. Charlie is the sub-curator assigned to child bounty demo 1, so he will only see information about this and the award button. However, he doesn't see the functionality that the parent curator had, which will be closing the child bounty, adding a new child bounty, and extending the parent bounty itself. And I think that's it with a demonstration. Yeah. No. Sorry. Yeah, and here is just a simple comparison. The batch call to award the child bounty, this is how a curator would have to do it on the Polkadot.js. It's, I think, 17 input fields, and the user actually needs to know which extrinsic to use and enter the correct indexes. It's pretty complicated, and what we have is quite simple, I think. Then our plans for the future, we want to implement the second milestone, which would be about creating the public bounty view page where the user will also be able to see the communication channel. And we want to work with the OG tracker team. We have spoken already and agreed on this, to integrate the self-reporting functionality so the curators can add the reports about the bounty directly on our tool. And then we also have thought about potential future plans and implemented similar projects, similar concept projects for the Polkadot Cloud and Polkadot Hub, with a focus on developers as well. So similar concept in this case, meaning very lightweight, user experience-oriented apps on other domains as well. That was it. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them. You can also find me on Telegram if you want to have a chat. Thank you very much.
Any question from the audience? Yeah.
So this is using the bounties palette on Asset Hub or something, or
It's not on Asset Hub yet. It's still on the Polkadot chain.
still on Polkadot, okay.
Yeah, when it is moved on the Asset Hub, we will just switch chains to use Asset Hub as well.
So why were there so many parameters that you could just exclude with using your UI? Like what are all those? Why even have all these?
You mean on this batch call?
Yeah, when you compared the two, like what are all these parameters for?
It's not updated. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
you
this
mean
one.
this, right?
Yeah. Why are all these parameters even needed? Like.
So all of this is executed on the left side as well. It's just hidden. So the first two calls is just to propose the curator to the child bounty, which in this case proposing the same account that is logged in, and accepting is just accepting this call. So these calls do not even need to be shown to the user at all, except of this add in this sub-curator fee here, and then awarding this bounty. The only information we need is the beneficiary address. You can see that in each call, the user also needs to enter the parent bounty and the child bounty ID. So this can be masked away because we do it specifically for this child bounty.
I see.
Yeah, and then the last call is essentially permissionless, but still you need to enter parent bounty ID and child bounty ID again.
Cool. Very cool.
Thank you.
Hello. Well, thank you so much because that word it's really necessary. It will be happy a lot of people. I have two questions. The one says very quickly, and it's in development in this moment. How do you plan that it could be deployed for the community? And the second is how are you handle the level of roles between different kind of users? For example, you have the curator, you have the public user or the beneficiary. How are you handle that?
Yeah, so for the first question, it's actually already deployed, it's already live. So if you go to the link and you have a curator address, you can log in and use the tool already. Everything I showed is live already. Then the different roles, only the curator and sub-curator can use the tool at the moment. So the beneficiary or any other user will not see anything at the moment. This is the second stage of development that we will start most likely next week or next month, yeah, within the next weeks. So yeah, the only two active users at the moment is curator and sub-curator.
All right, thank you so much and congratulations for that.
Thank you as well. Are we done?
All right. Are we good in the audience? No more questions? No, well, Vasily, thank you so much. This is definitely the kind of things that we need in the ecosystem. So looking forward to see you again in OpenGov very soon with a new proposal. Don't forget your laptop. All right. I think we ran a little bit over time. So in 4 minutes, we will start with lightning demos. And yeah, Sasha is going to host this one. And we'll see how it's going. It's a perfect opportunity to see some of the latest projects in action. So stick around.